filed the assault charge for Mr. Fisher because none of their officers will take an amended report. None of them will also now file an assault charge because they say, oh, the officers already reviewed it and they decided this. And again, that's discerning when you have evidence of a person picking up a weapon and assaulting you with it, and they just don't care. I mean, that's really what this boils down to. So I'm down here, and I may as well file the complaint against Officer Alverez for deleting her cell phone video and pictures that she took on the 29th. Again, I requested that through public information and was told no such record exists. Now, either she deleted it or for some reason it doesn't exist, which is insane because I have the video of her taking it and the video of me telling her not to delete it because I'm going to be requesting it. So either way, one of my other issues with Officer Alvarez is she was the first security officer who arrived the night of the assault, and they say that her body camera footage does not exist. That would have exculpatory information on it, but they say it doesn't exist. So again, that's an issue for me. Howdy, I see that you're there's a viewer in the chat. I'm gonna go ahead and turn this around. I'm down here at VIA Police Headquarters. That's at 711 West Laurel, at the corner of La Harpe, West Laurel. That's San Pedro up there. Came down here to file an assault charge because the officers chose not to do that at the scene. I showed them the video. They chose to say that, you know, the way that they creatively worded reports. So I came down here and I'm speaking with the criminal investigator, and he's like, well, I'm not going to do that either. And he hasn't even reviewed the video. He's just like, well, the officers on scene decided. I'm like, the officers on scene did not see the evidence. They did not witness everything, and I'm showing you additional information. I'd like to file a report. He won't do it. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm here to file a complaint now. That's Sergeant 4. I'm live streaming it this time. So. Okay, so Sergeant 4, on the 29th of March.
Okay, 29th of March?
Yes, sir. On the 29th of March, I went into 123 North Medina. I was following up. Remember back in December, I had Officer Curtis call you out there about the restricted areas in that building?
Correct.
Okay. Remember upstairs, they have the no gun signs there, but there were no restricted signs. And I agreed with you. It looks like that's the intent, but they need to put the signs up. So I'm following up on that, and they did put up the signs. That's why I do what I do. I'm following up on it. I walk in the building. Officer Alvarez, I walk in. It says all visitors have to sign in. She doesn't. She comes up. I'm like, well, I'm waiting for you to take my temperature. That's your policy. She chooses not to do that. And I say, okay, so you don't want to take my temperature. I'll just continue with my business. And I mean, I can't make her take my temperature. I walk back towards the public restroom. I was actually going to buy a soda at that point. They have a vending machine back there. And she tells me you can't go back there. And I'm like, wait a minute. The vending machines are in the public lobby. But again, I've had this issue down there before where guards, they just don't understand. But again, you've been down there. You see how many signs are down there. Restricted, restricted. Every door that's restricted is marked restricted. So I tell her, I said, hold on, Miss Alvarez, you're making a mistake here. Before you go through, making your threats or whatever else, saying you're going to trespass me, please contact Sergeant Poor, because I've spoke with him about that, because I knew you would know, I can go back to the water fountain, the restrooms in that area. I just can't go upstairs because everything else that's not behind a closed door is open to the public. And she's like, no. And I'm like, just call supervisor. She calls the supervisor, and while she's doing that, she takes out her personal cell phone. She starts taking videos and pictures of me. Now, she's done this in the past, and I've caught her doing it, filming me while I'm outside filming, and I don't care because I'm in public. But the issue is that in her capacity as a security guard, that becomes a public record, just like your body camera is public record. And so I tell her, I said, if you want to record, you should use your body camera, because by using your cell phone, you're making that a public record, and I am going to request that. And I told her that in front of Sergeant Martinez. I filed the open records request for her body camera, not only on that occasion, but later that night as she witnessed the assault that I came down here to report to the CID. Now, her body camera wasn't on for the assault, apparently, because that wasn't available. And a concerned citizen went and approached her and told her they're about to fight down here, and she should have been activating her body camera at that point when that person approached her. She chose not to, whatever. My point is that the public pays for this equipment for our officers to use. It's for your safety, but it's also for accountability reasons. And when a police officer or guard chooses to use their cell phone to take pictures of people in their capacity as a guard, or videos that she's going, oh, I'm going to use this for my personal use. I don't care what she uses it for. Again, I'm in public. I don't care about that. What I care about is that she is doing it as an official capacity. And if she's sending that video or pictures to other officers or doing other things like that, that are conduct unbecoming, then there's an issue. And so when I asked Mr. Scheidt for the records of the pictures and anyone she sent the pictures to, and he says, and the video, and he says, no such record exists, then my question goes back to, why doesn't that record exist? She took the video, she took the pictures. I have her videotape doing that. I was live streaming. So she has now deleted public information. That's a crime. It's a criminal crime here in the state of Texas. She's deleted a public record. And when I told her, I warned her very specifically, that's public information, do not delete it. She still chose to do that. But again, I'm not trying to get security officers in trouble or officers in trouble, just like Officer Curtis that day. He didn't know. I'm like, good, call a supervisor. He'll come out here, we'll get you. Officer Curtis has been polite and professional with me. Had to go back over there and pick up records the other day. Polite, professional, now he knows. I asked him, I said, your officers moved a sign inside that lobby, a temporary sign to block off the public area, because she said, this is how I'm going to cover myself, because I told him he can't go there. She doesn't have the authority to pick up a restricted sign and move it somewhere because she thinks it's restricted. Your guards, your officers
She picked up
do.
the sign?
Somebody did.
Okay.
And I don't.
So it was moved, basically? Okay.
It was moved. This is afterwards. And I told Sergeant Martinez, I know exactly what you guys are going to do because I've done this long enough. I know the games that get played. This is a problem because, one, instead of Sergeant Martinez contacting Rachel Benavides like I told him to, it was business hours. I said, you can say you don't know if it's restricted all you want. If you don't know it's restricted, you can't tell me not to go there. Again, you say you don't know. I'm telling you to call her. I won't do that. And I said, I know what's going to happen. I'm going to leave here and tomorrow I'm going to show up and the sign's going to magically be where you say it's restricted. Now see, I'm ahead of the game at this point because I know these are the types of activities that officers do and governments do to protect themselves. And they say, well, yeah, I shouldn't have restricted them from going back there because it isn't restricted. I know. We're going to move this sign over here so that it looks like it was always restricted. And I knew they were going to do that. So what did I do? I contacted administration. I said, who gave your guards authorization to restrict public areas? Who gave them permission to move these signs? Guess what? A week later, the sign got moved. Why? Again, that's an issue. Your guard doesn't have the right to go around. This is the same guard, and I told her before. She's the same guard who walked up to me at the corner of Commerce and Medina. And she walked up to me, and I know you guys all have my picture and an email saying I'm allowed to film on property there. I know that. I know Rachel sent that out to you guys. She walks up to me on the corner and tells me, you can't be here. I wasn't actually filming at that time. I was reviewing one of my other videos. So I didn't really hear it because my headphones were in. And I take out my headphones and I turn around and I say, ma'am, are you talking to me? And she walks off. And I said, well, you can't tell me I can't be on this sidewalk. You just can't. Later, 2, 3 days later, I'm back over by that same area, and I go up to read the public notices that you post on 123 North Medina. They name when the board meetings are, things like that. I walk up to read that, and she's out there with her camera again. She's taking pictures of me. I walk up to her, and I say, hey, is that on your personal cell phone or is that a business phone? Because some departments do issue officers business phones. She shuts the door and locks the door and goes inside. If you have armed security guards working at public buildings, they're so afraid of the public asking them questions, they lock the door to a public building versus answering a question. There's a problem with this. Now, 3 days ago, I walked up there at 4:50, and on that day, I had my body camera out. I was there to pick up information from Mr. Scheidt, and I walked up, and the door was locked. And the door shouldn't be locked at 4:50. A gentleman walked up behind me, and he said, "Did you knock?" And I said, "I'm not going to bother. I know the guard who's working there. She's not going to be cooperative. She's not going to give me what I need anyway." And so he knocks on the door. He had to drop off paperwork. That is an administrative building. That's why people go there. Citizens go there. And she came to the door and said, "You have to come back tomorrow." And this is a handicapped person. He walked, and he's upset, and I'm filming it. And I'm going, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is the problem with VIA, with these guards with attitudes. And Officer Alverez has an attitude. She does not work well with the public. She assumes things. She then, again, she restricted my right to film in public, but I get that. And I'm like, yeah, I can handle this through getting a supervisor to educate her. Instead, Sergeant Martinez came out, and instead of educating her, backed her up. And so that just encourages her to continue up with her actions. So on that day, the guy's knocking on the door. It's 10 minutes before close of business, and she comes over and tells him, "No, you have to come back tomorrow." And I tell him, "No, she has to take your paperwork." That's their protocols, that it goes through the security desk, and then they hand it to the administrator. They come out and they go, "Oh, do you have public records requests for me here, whatever?" And the guy says, "Well, she's not taking it." I say, "Yeah, she has to." She looks over, sees that I'm filming, opens the door and says, "Okay, I'll take it." Why? Only because I'm filming. If I wasn't filming, she'd have made that man come back the very next day and do it again. That is ridiculous. That type of activity from your officers is inappropriate. But again, her taking pictures of other people, not turning it in, her not having her body camera on, these are serious security issues. Because again, her saying, or VIA saying, there's no record of her body camera for the assault, there's no record of her cell phone, then either she chose not to turn in her body camera, she chose never to turn it on, but her cell phone, she had to have deleted that information if they're saying there's no record of it. And again, that's a serious problem. I mean, that's no different than her taking her body camera and scrubbing the memory off her body camera. And we know that's possible. I know most officers don't know how to do it, but it's possible. And you can do that. The issue, again, goes back to when officers choose to do that, what is the reason? Why does she think that it's okay for her to take pictures with her cell phone of the public on duty and then delete them so that it's not available to the public? If she wants to use her personal cell phone on duty, she's aware, via, according to Mr. Scheidt, every officer in this department knows that that's been the law for at least 3 years now. I asked him, I said, well, can you make sure you let all your security guards know this? Because they do it all the time. And it's not really a big issue for me, but it is a big issue when I document that I'm saying, I'm telling you this is not a restricted area, and you are telling me it is. And you're recording me telling you that, but you deny it. And then a day later, a sign shows up saying it's restricted now. So again, when I went through and I said, okay, who authorized that sign to be up there? VIA's never going to tell me who put that sign up there. It's just not going to happen. They're going to go, well, we took care of it. No, that's not taking care of it. The problem is somebody in VIA, namely your security guard, assumed authority she didn't have to restrict an area and then backed it up by moving a sign to say this is now restricted because I said it's restricted. That's an outrage to me. I mean, it's the same when I say she can't walk down the sidewalk telling me VIA maintains this sidewalk. So we control it and we can trespass you off of it. And we've gone over this a lot with, I mean, I'm sure you know, your officers should be aware those are public rights of way. People can use them. Yes, VIA maintains it, but just like I maintain the sidewalk in front of my house for the 10 years that I owned it, if there's a crack, I had to do that. But I can't go out and tell someone they can't walk down my sidewalk. I can't tell a person they can't use metal roller skates on my sidewalk, even though that's what's causing the cracks because it's public sidewalk. I still have to maintain it. That's the same with VIA. You have to maintain it, but it's not your property. It's a public easement. The sidewalk is not even VIA's property. The GIS survey shows that clearly. The same with the rights of way around VIA. But again, your officers do this. So today, my main complaint again, and I'm giving you other examples, but Officer Alverez choosing not to turn on her body camera on the night that I was assaulted on the 29th of March is a huge issue for me because that's exculpatory evidence. She's walking up to the scene when a man picks up a rock and throws it at my head. Now, she can say, and I don't know because her words are not in the police report, which is strange to me, why, if she's witnessing it as she's walking up, her statements are not in that report. I mean, that's just strange to me. But I can't say what she saw. I can't make her say what she saw. But if her body camera was on, it would be very clear what was seen on her body camera. Again, she chose not to activate her body camera. And you guys have a policy in place for when you're supposed to activate your body cameras. And when you make contact with the public or you're responding to a scene, you should have your body cameras on. Why then is her body camera footage not available from the entire time I was inside 123 North Medina? Why is her personal cell phones not available? Why is her body camera not available on the later that evening when I'm assaulted? These are concerning. And if, it just needs to be hey, that body camera is not jewelry. It's there for a reason. Turn it on. I mean, I don't know what else to say there. But again, I didn't go and request her body camera footage from the day at 123 North Medina for no reason. I wanted to see if she was the one who went and put that sign there after I left, because I won't know that. Now, had, she turned off her body camera after I left, I probably wouldn't have seen that either because she's not making contact. It doesn't need to be on. However, you and I both know that that whole building's under surveillance. And if you guys were serious about it, when I asked who authorized that sign to be put there, someone would have investigated it and someone would have been disciplined for it. Instead, the VIA solution is, it's not that big of a deal. This public auditor, he gets under people's nerves. So yeah, she treated him like a jerk. We support that. But really what they're saying to me, or when I hear that or feel that vibe, it's saying, we don't care about your rights to start with. We don't care about if we restrict your rights unlawfully, and we'll do whatever it takes to allow this type of petty behavior to continue. And that's honestly the way that I feel at this point. Had her body camera been on the night I was assaulted, then you guys would have no choice but to press assault charges against this man. I can show you my video, but you guys don't want to see my video because your officer was already out there. So I can't show a non-existent body camera video to a prosecuting attorney. I'll show him mine, but as your officer stated in the report, witnesses saw him throw the rock at me. No witness saw the rock hit me. That doesn't change the fact that he threw the rock at me. I'm standing about the distance we are when he threw it, and it glanced off the side of my head and landed. I have that evidence. Where we were, where the rock ended up, there's no way if he threw it at me that it would bounce back towards him unless it hit me. It would have gone in a straight line. But either way, I can't I can't make an officer say, I saw the rock hit him. I can't make an officer say, I saw him throw the rock. And again, that's why when I asked for that body camera footage, I asked for the police report at the same time to make sure that what's on the body camera is the same thing that's written in the report. And again, when that officer is not making any statements on the report and her body camera is not available, but she was actually there, it's concerning to me. Again, why do officers, and this is a rhetorical question, it's not made for you to answer, I apologize, but why do officers do this on a regular basis with personal phones? Most officers know now, hey, don't use your personal cell phone. Use, and again, I'm like, I don't care. You have a right to film me, but you also need to know that it's a public record if you do.
Right.
And, they don't get that. Some people go, oh, well, I can film you like you can film. Okay, that's fine. If they feel like a cam backing is, intimidating or whatever, I'm like, I don't care. To me, it just shows more, when I'm filming, like right now, the whole time we've been in here for 20 minutes, my video's on you. It doesn't show my hand gestures, my facial expressions. So in a court of law, you could tell someone I'm over here, flipping you a bird behind the camera, things. I'm not saying you would, but again, so when I say her body camera is just as important to me to give a full picture of the story about what happened when I was denied the right to use a vending machine or a water fountain or to film back there documenting the via bus route map. There's no way they can say that map is not meant for the public. Your employees don't need to go up there and go, this is where bus 16 goes. No, that map is there for the public, but they restrict it. When I say she restricted public right to go there because she doesn't understand what a public lobby is. And most guards don't, because the public doesn't utilize that very often. And your administration uses a security desk as a go-between. They say, oh, turn in your paperwork here, and then the security guard gives it to them. If that makes VIA's administrators feel safer or however, whatever the reason for that policy, that's fine. But it's still a public lobby, except for behind those closed doors. And your officers just don't get that. And this is not just VIA. This is all cities everywhere. I mean, I up in Missouri, same thing. Down in Arkansas, same thing. Here in San Antonio police lobby, same thing. Until they understand that it's a public lobby that we can record, that is for the public, then they assume things and make the people feel, you can't go here. And again, if I went, as an example, if you're outside in the street and you're walking to your car, which is in public, well, you may be parked in private, but as an example, if you're walking up to your car and I tell you, you can't walk over in that public area or I'm going to detain you, beat you, possibly incarcerate you, that's a crime, isn't it? Yeah. And that's the exact same thing I try to explain to these security guards when they detain us in public areas. You have no authority to threaten me, to tell me I can't be here, that I can't film here because you feel that it's not a public lobby. Again, VIA, very good about their signage. I think you remember when I told you about the gun signs, and I'm like, I get it. I agree with you that it's probably intended upstairs is restricted, or they wouldn't have these gun signs here. But they don't have it marked as restricted. And what did VIA do? They went and got 2 temporary signs, and they did the right thing. They marked it as restricted. And I don't know when exactly they did that because I didn't have to go down there again. But on that particular day, I was downtown following up on a 2A audit. That's Second Amendment audit. So I was armed. And I'm like, I'm going to follow up on all my audits. When I do follow-ups, I generally do them all. I'm like, this place had a problem, this place had a problem, this place had a problem. I'm like, the gun sign's down at VIA. I'm going down here. So when I went in, and I'm like, okay, a lot of citizens don't get that, but that's the same thing I was explaining to Officer Curtis that day. I'm like, you're saying that's restricted, and I'm not going to argue because these signs are here, but this lobby can't be restricted. Think about it. If it was, wouldn't those gun signs be on the front door, not where they are? Obviously, those signs are only restricting a certain area. So again, I mean, I apologize. I finished my complaint and I'm just rambling and I'll do this forever. So again, to just go over real quick what my complaint is. Her body camera, she's not using it, or it's not available, which means she didn't turn it in or it's not working. Whatever reason it's not available, there's an issue. If it's an equipment issue, she needs to be issued working equipment.
Yes.
Her personal cell phone, between you and me as just people, if I were you, I would just walk up to her and let her know, hey, you know it's public record. You know this guy will come down here and make a complaint, and you know it's a crime if you delete it. Why do it? If you need to record, use your body camera.
Right.
I mean, that's what I would do as an officer to a subordinate. Before body cameras were the rave, and before certain laws were passed that made officers' personal cell phones law on duty public information, it was generally most departments' policy anyway because they didn't want that issue. But again, I mean, between you and me, I would just tell her, hey, if you choose to do that, that's fine. But understand that when you do that, they have the right to see all the information on your phone, all the pictures you took. Someone's going to have to go through it and determine this picture was here, this picture was there. They may find stuff you find embarrassing. They have the right to see who you sent that information to, how you used that information. And again, people go, well, that's my privacy. And I'm like, exactly. So why use your phone on duty and put yourself in this bind? But if you are going to do it and then you decide to delete it, you've now committed a crime. And that's why I'm here.
Okay.
I mean, when I go out of my way and tell someone, do not delete that, I'm going to be requesting it, and they choose to delete it, that's a serious issue for me. It's an accountability issue, and it tells me that that's the same type of officer that would hide or misrepresent other information. So was there anything else that you needed from me on that?
No, so I'm gonna forward this to her supervisor, which is Sergeant Scheidt,
Okay.
and let him know what's going on so he can do the follow-up. I know you still have my office number or anything like that?
Yes, I do have your office and your extension. I don't remember the extension, but I just tell them to transfer me over.
Okay, that'll work too.
And again, I appreciate your time down here. I am frustrated. I think you understand though that the amount of time that I spend working on civil rights when it happens to me personally really upsets me.
I can imagine.
And I get, like I said, the assault that night. Yeah, I'm very mad. I'm mad. I'm disappointed with Via because the man who assaulted me was hanging out there throughout the day. The lady who incited him to assault me has done this multiple times. And generally, when I go out and I film in public, I don't put the camera on that type of thing. I film near Via all the time. You have a lot of homeless, a lot of people with mental illness down there.
Yes.
All the time. I go out of my way not to film them for a reason. I can, but there's no reason to do that, in my opinion. But again, what I've learned is that if I don't document things like this happening, then when it does happen, officers go, we didn't know it happened. Oh, we didn't see this. And I'll tell you flat out, the man who assaulted me was back on the property the other day. I actually was, had come out of talking with another officer, and I was speaking with Corporal Contreras about that assault. And I went down towards Commerce Street, and the guy rolled right past me, went onto your property, went over to like the north side or the east side of the property. And I'm like, I can't believe this dude's just strolling around here. So I did call it in. I'm like, hey, it took me a second. I pulled up the police report, got his name. I said, hey, the guy's on the property. Whether he caught a bus before you got there or not, I don't know. What I do know is after that, I walked up Houston Street on the other side. I saw your officers respond about 10 minutes later. I'm like, if they got him, they got him. If not, no big deal. I mean, I did what I needed to do. And it wasn't being a prick. It's because honestly, when a person like that would throw a rock at me for whatever reason, I feel he's the type of guy who's going to assault another person again in the future. And I'm like, hey, they need to get him off the property. So I did that. Now today, on my way here, I crossed the same guy, Terrence. He's over by the homeless shelter. I got no problem with him personally, unless I think he's going to assault me. So I turn on my video because I'm walking down to catch bus 3 right there by Frio.
Okay.
And I'm walking down to catch that bus, and I see the guy, and I'm like, crap, I better turn on my camera in case he says something.
Right.
He does, actually. He says something to me, and I'm like, crap, I'm glad I had this on. But it wasn't anything hostile. He said, hey, you got a light. And I'm like, oh, cool. He doesn't even recognize me.
Oh, wow.
I give him a light. I give him a cigarette, too. And I'm like, cool. And I went on my way. And again, when I say I don't have anything against him, but when I'm saying I've now taken those steps because I know if I don't record it, I'm screwed. Because again, you expect officers' body cams to be available. I know from experience, it never is when I need it. And particularly on this day when I request it and it's not available, it's really upsetting because I have a criminal charge for disorderly conduct, for mutual combat, when that's not what happened. I mean, I feel my video shows it that I was assaulted and I defended myself, but that's for court. That's either way. But if I have to go to court, of course, I want that evidence backing me up. And your officer chose not to turn on her body camera, and that's upsetting to me. So I appreciate your time. I'm gonna let you go. My head out of here and turn off my live feed.
Okay.
That was. I'm just talking to my audience here. That was Sergeant Poor. I've dealt with him before.
All right, Mr. Reese, will you be careful?
Okay, thank you, Sergeant Poor. Okay, you have a good day. He's always been polite. He's one of the first people that I contacted or had show up when a security officer was telling me that public building was restricted. And he came out and we discussed it, and I told him what signs needed to be up if they were going to restrict other areas. And when I went to follow up on that, another security guard and another sergeant went back and did the same thing, restricted my other rights to do things. I do apologize. I saw a lot of comments coming through. I was busy with filing my complaint against security officer Alverez for deleting her cell phone footage of me that day and for not having her body camera on. Those issues, those are accountability issues, and we're always going to have those issues until they take it seriously. Like I was telling Sergeant Poor, someone should just walk up to her and tell her, don't use your cell phone on duty. It's not wise. You can delete it, but once you do, it's a crime, and that's what she did. So whether anything happens, we all know how that goes. Do apologize, turning this back around. Whether or not that happens, we all know how this goes. The state always protects the state. I see Head-On Enterprises. I see your comments. I'll be able to read them all later. They just popped up. So the facts are, VA police will not pursue assault charges against the man who assaulted me. However, there is one other alternative, and that's going in, showing the evidence to the city attorney, prosecuting attorney down at 411 North Frio, and I will be doing that. The simple fact, I see that if she deleted that footage, she needs to be fired. Absolutely, 100%. That is a definite public safety risk. It's an ethics violation, and there's no excuse for it. Again, I understand officers do not like auditors, but it doesn't give them the right to go out of their way to jam you up or to word things. And again, if you have ever got hold of body camera footage, or you even look at your own footage and compare it to a police report, they always creatively write reports. And again, when I'm saying, I beat 2 criminal trespass charges at the San Antonio police lobby because they lie, and there's an issue with that. They're never held accountable for it. Waste of time and effort. But as I said all along, I'm like, you guys can say whatever you want, but just because you write something on a police report doesn't make it true. Opinions are what get put on police reports, not facts, the majority of the time. And my defense attorney was like, no, the jury's not going to believe you against 8 officers. And I said, well, the jury's going to have to look at 8 body cameras, and you're going to have to ask each of those 8 officers why they said that they said something that was never on their body camera. And at that point, the jury can go, wow, we have 8 lying officers on the stand. Should you ever trust a police officer again? Or the district attorney wisely said, oh shit, we're not going to do that to our officers. Let's dismiss this case. What that prosecuting attorney should have done was go and say, oh, I need to file charges on all these officers for their malicious arrest, because this is bullshit. But they never do that. I'm going to cut my feed off. I do appreciate you coming in. I'm out of there, heading up to San Pedro. I'll catch a bus home. You guys have a great day. Yep, as always, they do.